Hi, I'm Francesco Garripoli, and I welcome you to another Wuji Mountain Musings. And this one is number 529, reading it from the ebook version of the Chi Effect book. And we'll listen and play with this one. Moving past the woe is me victimization perspective is absolute key in healing and spiritual practice. I talk about this a lot in my workshops, and when people can admit they sometimes do this, even a little, it's transformative for them and for our flow together. Woe is me victimization. Oh my goodness. Can you relate to that? I mean, everybody can. I can. This idea of being a victim is one of the most dangerous pieces of identity we can hold on to. And it's something that is so subtle. We have to be really careful because when we look at this concept of victimization, we would be the last people to ever admit that we're a victim. Well, not me. I would never do that. It's not my style. Yet, when your actions are observed, when other people see what you're doing, and if they care about you, they might say, hey, why are you pointing blame? Why are you making that other person the cause of your problems? And this is what victimization is all about. To be a victim, by definition, says you have to let someone else have more power than you. It's a tough one to face because you say, well, of course they don't have more power than me. They're just pissing me off, or they're just so bad that they're making me and my life miserable. Well, guess what? Until you can come to that place where you say, no one has more power than me unless I choose to give it away. And if you choose to give it away, own that. Own that you have given away your choice, your integrity, you've lowered your bar, whatever it happens to be. This is the only way to be a victim. And if you become a conscious victim, right, that means admitting that you've given your power away, well, then something magic happens. Because each time you admit to being a conscious victim, you now have something called objectivity. And you have moved away from your survival mind or your intellectual mind, right? The survival mind says, oh, they're more powerful than me, they're meaner than me, they're better than me. That's what the survival mind does. It judges power hierarchies, and you've given your power away based on your survival mind. Your intellectual mind can also say, well, they're generally bad people because they were a business person better than me, and therefore they could screw me out of this business deal, and I'm a victim of that. Or intellectually, well, he was a man and he did it to me as a woman, or she's a woman and did it to me as a man. These are the kind of identities that the intellectual mind comes up with. But what does the heart mind, what does that intuitive mind say? First, it says we have equanimity. First, it says we are all equal energetically. That's a big one. But when you come from heart space, we are. We are all entangled in that quantum field together. And when you own that equanimity, you can come back to your true identity as an infinite being, a spiritual being grounded and centered. Now, whatever happens in a relationship you have with another person becomes much more choiceful. Yes, it may hurt. Yes, they may have done something really bad to you. Okay? Yes, they may have taken something you loved or someone you loved. Is that justification to become a victim? Or can you flip that energy? Because there's usually an emotion that comes with victimization. Think about it. One of the core 5 emotions. It could be anger, typically fear. These are the things that come. Victimization could come from even worry. You know, when you worry so much that something bad will happen, you are in a victimized state. Of course, anxiety, that's big for victimization. So look at how the emotions are triggered in your victimization state and then transform them. I talk about that a lot in our Emotion Alchemy, part of the organ cleansing program. Emotion Alchemy will become something that's taught on its own pretty soon. But we understand that each of these emotions can be transformed. And when you do that, you move out and transform out of that victim identity. Victimization is only an identity you allow yourself to embrace. And then your worldview and all your perceptions are affected by it. So understand what it means to transform out of that identity. And looking at the emotions is a first good step. So if your victimization puts you in an angry state, understand that anger's transformation is discernment. So when you bring that feeling in your heart, and you say, why would I want to bring anger into my heart? Well, the heart, that vibratory heart resonance is the only place you can do any transformation with in the first place. And that's what happens when you are in that space of emotion alchemy. When that anger now comes in and you can observe it, and you could say you have gratitude around the observation, not gratitude around the anger. Why would you want to be grateful for anger? But you can be grateful for the observer self, for that intuitive mind observation that sees that you are not the anger, that sees that you are not the victim, and understands that you are the heart-centered, heart-resonant, conscious being you are, free from those identities. In that process, your anger now carries powerful juice, lots of mojo, lots of energy for your growth if you tap it. If you only let it control you, if you only let it manage you, if you only let it affect you, you're not tapping the energy, you're just bouncing up against it. When you transform that anger into discernment, all of a sudden, that centered, grounded being comes into play. And you can now discern the choices you need to make to move out of your anger and out of the victimization identity that you held. Becoming that observer, becoming that intuitive mind that can see the situation. Stop pointing blame in that binary way, or it's me against you, me against that other person. See the field as an entangled field of energy that you reacted to in some way. You made maybe bad choices. Maybe you thought you made good choices. They turned out bad. Maybe you had an emotional reaction that created this situation that you now find yourself in. That's all okay. The causality isn't that important. You know, the idea of analysis to paralysis. You can analyze the causality and define the reasons of why these things happen until you're blue in the face. That's the realm of the survival and intellectual mind. Until we make the transformation into our beautiful intuitive mind, that heart-centered mind that taps into the Shen Qi awareness of the heart, you'll always be trapped in an identity. To free yourself of these identities frees yourself to the transformation. And that victimization dissipates because your duality, the person that victimized you and you, are no longer two separate things, but all that matters now is your perspective of it, the belief you carry about it. And when that becomes heart-centered, you can see the other person for where they are or the other situation for what it is. You move that emotion, like anger, back into discernment. You become super clear on how you make your next steps. And this is the path to freedom. And trust that. Trust that you have this ability to do this all the time. Go back into that place where when you catch this woe is me statement, however you say it to yourself, you know how you subvocalize it or even how you say it out loud to friends. Catch the way you define yourself to the world. And when you change that definition, and when you transform yourself out of the victim mode and into an empowered, centered, grounded, sovereign being, you can remember that you're infinite consciousness, knowing itself through this human experience, and you owe it to this precious experience of life to be empowered for yourself and for others around you. Peace.